just going to do a quick little video. At least I hope it will be quick. Testing a couple things, which hopefully won't be too painful. And I'm going to show you how I make my own stencils in Cricut Design Space. Now, there's a variety of different things you can do with these stencils. I'm using them currently for paper crafting or card making so that I can print my own background papers. I've also used them on polymer clay in the past with mica powders for a nice pattern. There's any number of things you can do. You could use them to paint on wooden projects or just about anything you want, really. The interesting thing is I'm using flyers that I get in the mail, and currently, because the election's coming up, I'm getting a lot of flyers. So I have got a lot of junk mail that I can use to create these stencils. Now, they're just made out of that kind of laminated cardstock. I'm not really sure what it's made out of, or what it's coated with, I should say. But it's not going to hold up forever. You know, if you use it a lot, you know, eventually I'm sure it will wear out. It's just, after all, paper, even if it is coated a little bit. However, the beauty of using, you know, recycling materials that just come in the mail that you're just going to throw away is that you've got an endless supply, sorry about that, an endless supply of materials to recreate the stencil if you want. So the first thing I'm going to do, and this is something I just did today, is I'm going to show you how I create a little tab that will go on each stencil so you can put them on a ring or string them together or do, you know, whatever you want to do to kind of keep them organized. So we're going to add a couple of shapes here. 2 circles and a square. Now I could have just duplicated the circle, but why when I just had to hit click when I was right there? I'm going to change the color of one of them just so I can see it a little bit better. I'm going to enlarge this square a little bit more, and then I'm going to enlarge my screen just so I can see it better. And I'm going to try to find roughly the part of the circle before it starts curving back in, and you're just going to slice that circle with the top edge of that square, and I'm going to delete it, and there you've got a little tab. And then I am going to add a little hole in that tab so that I can, like I said, string them together or put them on a ring, something that'll keep them all kind of neat and organized and together. So the first thing I want to do is I want to resize this to about 1 inch, I think is what I was using earlier. And then I'm going to resize this to 0.3. I want to leave it big enough that I can get through. I'm going to move that to the front so I can see it. Put that all the way back up. That didn't sound good. Gosh, I hope he's okay. All right, so next I'm going to center the circle just to kind of help me get it aligned where I want it. So I'm going to hit align and center. And that looks pretty good. So then I'm going to slice it because I want to put a hole in that tab. So there's my hole in my tab. So I'm going to get rid of those. I have got, what do I got? 5 stencils in this one. Yeah, so I'm going to duplicate that 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'll just actually flip them all upside down. So I group them, and I'm going to flip vertical. I had to think about that for a second. And I'm just going to put one by each one of these stencils. Now, depending on the intricacy of the stencil, some of these can take quite a while to cut. The ones I cut earlier, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 minutes maybe. I wasn't really timing them. I was watching other people's videos. Yes, I'm not too embarrassed to admit that. I get a lot of inspiration and ideas that kind of stem from other people's ideas, so I think that's okay. So I'm just going to barely cross that over. I'm going to highlight both of those. So I'm just going to drag and cover the tab and the stencil. I'm going to align or center horizontally. And then I'm going to weld it together so that tab's attached. And I'm going to do the same with all 5 of those. That's a little higher than I want it. So I'm going to grab both of them or highlight, use my cursor to grab both of them. Then I'm going to center horizontally, and then I'm going to weld. And you notice that tab takes on the color of the stencil. I'm not exactly sure how it determines which color it's going to take on, whether it be the color of the tab or the color of the stencil, but I know somebody out there has that answer. It just isn't me. So again, I've selected both of them. I'm going to hit align, I'm going to center horizontally, and I'm going to weld. And we've just got 2 more to go. So grab the tab, move it up to where it's just barely over the bottom edge of the stencil. I'm going to select both, align and center horizontally, and weld. And for the last one, we're going to do the same thing. We select the tab, we move it up to where it's just barely over the bottom edge of the stencil. And I'll show you what happens if it's not touching the stencil. If there's just even a hair of a little space in there, let me get even bigger so I can make that smaller, then it won't weld. So there's just a fraction of a hair in there. So if you try, well, it will let us center it, align and center horizontally, but when we try to weld it, oh, that actually did weld. Okay, make a liar out of me. It was apparently just close enough that it worked. But if you're not touching, it will sometimes leave a space in there and it won't actually weld it. It'll weld it into one project, but it won't weld it into one piece, if that makes sense. In this case, it actually worked. So who knew? Now, I see a couple small pieces here on this stencil right here. I don't really want that to cut out. There's no point. It's going to be so small because I'm currently enlarged to 150%. So I'm going to highlight that one and hit contour. And then I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to click on that. And that just takes it out of contention for cutting. There's also a little piece up here. I'm going to do it with that as well. And I'm going to do it with these small pieces too. I just don't really see the point. They're so small. I don't know that they'd show up that well. And then you just close it. And you see it's been removed from here. While I'm at it, I might as well check the other stencils just to make sure. And I don't see any pieces that are that small on those, but I do see some on here. So I see this one up here is really tiny. I don't know that that would even, there's any point to even cutting that. And then these down here along the bottom, same thing. They're so small, A, they probably won't cut well, and B, it's on the outer edge, so there's a chance you wouldn't even need it as part of your design. But it probably wouldn't stencil well anyway, just because it is so small. So we're going to select this one, and we're going to select contour, which is down here in the bottom right corner. Make sure I'm telling you right, because I often get my lefts and my rights confused, which when we're driving and I'm the navigator, that does drive my husband crazy a little bit, I'm not going to lie. But I don't do it on purpose. Okay, so we're going to just click on that little tip of a point there. We're going to do the same thing for this one and for this one. And was there 1 or 2 at the top? Nope, that looks pretty good. So we're just going to X out of there. And you can see those across the bottom are gone. And I probably could take that out of the top and maybe that one. So let me go back in just to see. I don't want to give my machine any reason to give me any trouble whatsoever. So I'll take that out. See, I can't even really see it on here. So I'm enlarging it, and there it is. I'll take it out of there. Oops, there we go. And I took it out of there. So close that. Yeah, I like that better. If we put this back down to 100%, you can see those aren't real big, but they're not real small either. However, there are some minuscule ones down here at the bottom. I don't know if you can see that. So I'm going to select that, and we are going to go in and remove those, because those are really hard to see. So I'm going to enlarge this so that you and I both can see it better. And then I'm going to scroll down and just click those little cut lines. Okay. You know what? I'm probably going to get rid of that too. And that one, even though it's probably okay. Those are probably okay. They're a little on the small side, but let's see, we're at 200%. So that's actually going to be quite a bit smaller. Yeah, we'll get rid of those too. Now this is up to you. You do not have to do this part if you do not want to. And depending on the material you're using, it may not even be necessary. Like I said, I'm using this coated cardstock, and for me it just seems like a better idea. I don't want to do that because that's apparently attached somehow. Alright, so let's do exit out of there and see what we got. So that looks pretty good. Now we got this last one here, and I don't see any that are too small on this. Now all of these designs are inspired by other stencils that I've seen other people do, but they're all made with basic shapes that come free with Design Space. So even if you don't pay to have a subscription to Design Space, these shapes are free and you can access it for free if you have a Cricut. I believe. I hope I'm not telling you wrong, but I'm almost positive. I've had my membership for so long, I'm a little rusty, but you don't have to pay for extra features to get all of the other designs that come in Design Space, because these are just basic shapes, and that's what I used to create this particular stencils. And as you saw how I created the tab, you basically just kind of do the same thing and layer your stuff together and weld it, and you've got a stencil. So we're going to now go and cut some of these. So let's go to Make It, which is up here in the right corner. Now let's see what that gives us. Oh, it wants to do 2 to a page. I actually quite prefer 1 to a page, just because. But maybe if I do it that way, it won't be so bad. Of course, we'll be waiting a long time. So maybe I'll start with this one. The reason I'm moving these over to this corner of my mat is because I've used this corner a lot. It's the top right corner. It's probably the one that gets the most usage. So by moving it over, I'm assuring myself that I've got a nice adhesive base so that my cardstock isn't going to lift up, because if it lifts up, that can cause you problems. So we'll do this one first, and I'm going to go to Continue. And it's setting up, and I set it previously to cardstock. I'm going to tell it I want to cut this one, and I'm going to load one of my flyers, which measures, what does it measure? It measures 10.5 by 6, and I'm pretty sure, but I'm not positive, so I'm going to go back out and check. I'm going to hit cancel. I'm pretty sure I made these. Yes, I'm sure I want to cancel. I'm pretty sure I made these to where they would fit. Yes. So it is about 5.5 by a little over 8.5. I had to reduce it a little bit to get it on that cardstock, but that's okay, because like I said, I'm using these for cards at the moment, although they're certainly big enough to work with polymer clay and stuff. So we can go back into Make It, and I'll go ahead and do that again, even though I probably won't go ahead and cut those two right now, and slide that one over, and then we go to Continue. And I will load my mat. I'm just double checking because I don't want to grab the wrong size piece of junk mail. And I'm just adhering it to my mat, making sure I press it down really good. You can use your Cricut scraper to make sure it's nice and smooth and well adhered. I have a bone folder that I was using earlier. You just want to press it down good. You don't want it peeling up while you're trying to cut it. And then I'm going to go ahead and load my machine. So the machine is loaded and it's ready to go. So I'm hitting the blinking C, and it will take a few minutes to cut. And while it's doing that, I will show you the 3 that I cut out earlier. At least I hope I will. I don't know how this is going to work when I switch over to another camera. So this is where the test part comes in. Yeah. Okay. Yep. It's not going to let me show you till this is done cutting. And actually, it might not even let me show you then. We will see. So we'll just give that a few more minutes to cut. It's at 12%, so this one's not too bad. Now I will be sharing these stencil files in my Facebook group, which is Expressions Craft Studio. There's actually both a page and a group. The main difference for me, there may be other differences that are important to other people, but for me, the group is where I store the files or store the links to the files because it has a files tab, whereas the page does not. There is no charge to join either one. Both pages are free. So please do join. Please use the files. I would love to see what you can create out of something I've shared with you. And I would also love any feedback you have. There is a YouTube channel. I will be sharing this video on YouTube, and it is also Expressions Craft Studio - Georgiana Franks. And I'm hoping to share a lot more files. I've already got some digital backgrounds or printables that are in the Expressions Craft Studio group. And then there were 3 more stencil files that I uploaded earlier today or added the link to. So you can get those, and I'll be adding the link to these, I think 5 or 6, whatever it was, 5 files or stencils later today. And then hopefully tomorrow, if I get some time, I'll show you how I'm using the stencils. I made cloud stencils yesterday, and I'm sorry that probably sounded like clown. I actually said cloud, and I was inspired from looking at some cards that several other people I've actually seen using, and so I made my own cloud stencils. Now the cloud images in Facebook, or not Facebook, sorry, Cricut Design Space, are probably part of the paid access membership. Maybe not all of them, but some of them. But the good thing about clouds is all you need is circles, right? You just attach a bunch of circles, different heights and widths and different sizes, and poof, you got a cloud. So you could easily make your own cloud stencils as well if you don't already have a Design Space membership. We are slowly getting there. We're almost halfway. We're at 48%. So I apologize if anybody's asking questions. If anybody besides myself is actually here, I can't see the questions. Like I said, I'm still kind of testing and figuring out how this all works the best. Let's see. That's not going to help me. Oh, yeah. Hey, there, I can see myself. Turn the volume down, though. You don't want to hear crosstalk. Except I always hit that Bixby button. Anybody else have that problem? I don't use Bixby. I have no idea what Bixby does. So there you have it. But yeah, I don't see any other comments, so I'm the only one out here, which is fine. We're at 60%, so slowly but surely. I'm terrible about scheduling things. I just kind of do it A, when I have time, B, when I have time and am in the mood, and 3, when I'm feeling inspired. So that's why there's no notification that I was coming live. I'm just kind of a fly by the seat of the pants type of girl, which isn't always a good thing, but it isn't always a bad thing either. So we're up to 67%. And that's what I get for thinking it wouldn't take too long, right? So we're almost there. But what I will do is I think I'll go ahead and end this video. And then in the comments, what I will do is I will put a picture of the stencil that I'm cutting out right now. And I'll save the other 4 to cut them out later. But that way you can see it pretty quickly. You don't have to wait too long for me to get back and finish up. So with that said, I will bid you good night. And I would love to hear your feedback. I am not a professional. I'm not sponsored by anybody. I'm not paid by anybody. I just do this because I love it, and I've been doing it my whole life. Different types of crafts, not Cricut. It hasn't been around that long because I'm kind of a geezer. But I love crafting, and I want to share and inspire other people and help them find their joy in crafting as well. So good night. Take care. Until next time.